293rd day of 2023. There are 72 days left in the year. Good morning, MD, guiding you through In the Know at K105. On Litchfield's Country Station, 1039 The Moose. Live online at K105.com via the Apple and Android smartphone app using the SoundCloud, iTunes, or Spotify podcast. On Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and the hashtag is In the Know. Coming up today, we'll update you on the latest news headlines from around the community, the county, the Commonwealth, and the country. Plus, we'll have a Cougar Sports Report, get you ready for a big weekend. That and a whole lot more coming up today. Here on In the Know. Settling into my left, Rolling Rock 9 with her hair on fire, is my beautiful wife, the beautiful girl. It's the Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I ran across a study that tells us that Texas has the most potty mouth of any state in the United States.
Interesting.
6.9 curse words per post. So they study them online. So
Wow.
it's almost 7 swears per post. Ohio has just below that at almost 7. Then Florida, then Tennessee at 6.2. Missouri at 5, Iowa at 6, Indiana at 7, Louisiana at 8, Oklahoma at 9, and Idaho with 4.2 swears per post.
Wow. Well, we didn't make it.
So Kentucky's not in the top 10 on that.
That's
So
good.
that's very good. Good for us. Go team, go. Go squadron. He is a 5-time winner of the coveted Ohio Newshawk Award. He's the 2-time Silver Sound nominee, covering every corner of the globe. London, Budapest, Rio, Tokyo, and even Harnan. He's Sam Gormley. And the sports. Morning, Sam.
Morning, Ralph.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing. I'm feeling purposeful. I have a bit of advice for you. It's a public service announcement. I don't want you to drive too slow.
Okay.
It might cost you money, so don't. It's true you can get a ticket for driving too slowly.
Yeah, 100%.
The violation is called impeding traffic. If everyone around you is going 55 and you're going 40, and there's a long line of cars behind you trying to get around you, you're blocking traffic, which can create a dangerous situation. You can be cited.
That's your favorite thing, right?
That is my favorite thing. Now, what I'd be curious to know is how many citations for impeding traffic have been written in the Commonwealth of Kentucky in the last, let's just say, 12 months.
How many Sheriff Chafin's written?
0.
In his career?
In his career?
His
probably,
law enforcement career?
I would think.
I would think the over-under on that might be 2, and I'll take the under.
Well, you got to do a half.
I would definitely
So it'd
take
either
the
be
under.
1.5 or 2.5.
Okay. I'll say it's at 1.5, and I'll take the under.
Take the under?
I just don't think they do.
It has to be just for driving slow, not driving slow and weaving, or just simply driving slow for him.
Impeding
Probably in the
traffic.
left lane.
Mm-hmm.
That's becoming more and more of a law now, by the way.
Yeah, that you
People
can't
in the left lane campers. I'd say we need a left lane camper law. I go by people in the slow lane and I just look. They go, "What are you doing?" I mean, it just, and oftentimes they're out of staters.
Well, see, that's the worst part about 71 is it's 2 lanes. Mm-hmm. So it gets a lot more bottlenecked because there are only those 2 lanes. So really, sometimes you're just rolling with traffic because you get a semi who's trying to pass on the left side.
Oh, yeah.
And then that just slows everybody down.
You get the parallel semis that then they never can overtake the other one.
I was having that.
So it's just a constant because their loads are different weights. They just inchworm together and they just block traffic for miles.
One of my last trips to Northern Kentucky is the hill right when you leave Carrollton, which is about halfway in between, but it's a big hill closer to when you get to the Speedway, but it's one of the biggest hills on the trip when you head up north. Mm-hmm. And it was 2 lanes and 2 semis were right next to one another, and we all just kind of looked at one another and said, well, it's going to take a while.
Nobody's going anywhere because they just can't. They get out there and they're doing, like, one's doing 68 and one's doing 66, and they just never, the hills change. Just kind of a crazy thing. Hey, morning rain should be out of here now. Depending upon how early you got up, you may have seen some rain earlier today. In fact, you probably traveled some wet roadways, but those should be drying and we should be clearing. We have clear skies and some peaks of sunshine even here outside our window at the time we're doing the show, but we'll see some afternoon sun. It's going to be warm and windy tomorrow, by the way. We're going to see gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour. We'll see a high of 63 today, an overnight low of 44. 73 for the high tomorrow, but again, going to be somewhat windy. 45 tomorrow night, 62 on Sunday. So just be prepared, but we may get close to 80 degrees on Tuesday.
Can we just
Wow.
make our weekend Tuesday, Wednesday?
I'm sure you've got some time banked up. So you can take your weekend Tuesday and Wednesday if you want to do
Work
that.
Saturday, Sunday, and do that.
Speaking
I don't
of,
mind.
I did check the Mesonet. Grayson County, the Mesonet station, Grayson County, got 0.27 inches of rain in the last 24 hours as of a few minutes ago.
It was raining pretty good in Clarkson last night.
Yeah, it rained quite a bit. There was an early shower that came through about 3 o'clock yesterday that got kind of the southern end, the southeastern corner of the county. And then last night, about 7, 8, 9, got some more significant rain.
We got it. I didn't realize it had rained here, but it was one of those things that I was working and popped out to go to the fiscal court meeting last night. It was like, oh, apparently it rained.
Yeah. Yeah, there had been a rain shower. By the way, speaking of the reason I mentioned the rain total, more parts of Kentucky have now been designated as being in a moderate drought, while just over a quarter of the state has no drought, according to the weekly monitor. Grayson County is kind of split between the two. You see the southern third of the county is drier than the upper two-thirds. A percentage of 26.25% of Kentucky reports no drought conditions, which is down from 32% last week. About nearly 40% is considered abnormally dry. So we need more rain. It's kind of just weird how you get these paths that, they apparently are not in drought. I'm thinking, how did they get more rain?
Right along the lake, too, down in western Kentucky.
The president spoke to the nation last night and declared it is vital for America's national security for Israel and Ukraine to succeed in their wars, making the case last night for deepening U.S. involvement in two unpredictable foreign conflicts as he prepared to ask for billions of dollars in military assistance for both countries. He was probably already preparing to make this request on behalf of Ukraine, even before the October 7th attack on Israel, and so they just went ahead and added more things to the stew, including some dollars to work on the southern border crisis of the United States, which is a problem that probably has more direct, immediate impact on us. But, from an ideological standpoint, you kind of have to look at it like this. I don't think you should just give a blank check, and I don't think every time Zelensky comes with his hand out and says Russia's going to run over a NATO country, so you've got to pay us. But I do think you have to look at it and say, from a defense budget standpoint, if it's 10% of the defense budget that we're giving to other people's daughters and sons to fight on the ground, are you willing to write the check? Are you willing to eventually send our sons and daughters to be boots on the ground to take on China, Russia, Iran, Hamas, whoever? And I don't know the answer to that. I think the gut reaction is I'd rather write the check, but you can't do that forever because we just can't sustain that. But for what we spend on our national defense and what we're sending to Israel, which is just about $10 billion. Still the lion's share of it's going to Ukraine. There's some money for Taiwan in there to try and get China off their back. My guess is the sentiment among most Americans today would be, given the choice between sending troops and sending money, we're going to opt for the sending of the money. But there may come a time when money is not enough. But let's hope that can be avoided. We being the U.S. military, did shoot down some rockets that came out of Yemen, rockets and drones that came out of Yemen yesterday that were bound for Israel. We had military assets in the Suez Canal. They were coming south out of the Suez Canal and intercepted these rockets and drones that were headed north, and so we just shot them down. And sorry, Yemen, you lost your rocket. I also noticed a headline this morning that might be helpful. It's War and Kids, What to Say and Not to Say, and How to Handle Tough Questions. Clearly, this content is dominating the leads of most national newscasts, and Even here, on our local show, we're spending a lot of time talking about it because it impacts us and it impacts our nation. But there are a few tips here that you might remember. Consider the age of the child. Keep the dialogue simple when possible. I think that's good advice for everyone because I think that everyone can easily get confused. Not everyone's an expert on the subject. Not everyone knows why they should care about it. Limit the news exposure for kids. I've told you from time to time, I'll be watching the news and I'll see Alea come through and I'll just pause or change or go to something else because the world's scary enough without having to add, additional content. Avoid political or divisive discussion, and then just keep the kids calm. And keeping the kids calm has a lot to do with you staying calm. And maybe it will be a little bit easier.
It would be really nice if they gave you actual examples of what to say,
And there might be, by the way, in that story, you could probably Google and find the same story. I gave you the high points, but there would be some suggestions in there that may help.
Those.
Jim Jordan says that he will stay in for the 24 hours ago. They thought we'll just expand the powers of the temporary speaker. And some people revolted at that idea. So they're going to have another vote today. And I don't know if it'll prove the outcome to be any different, but Jim Jordan's staying in for whatever that means for you. The Grayson County Fiscal Court yesterday approved the purchase of an electronic medical record system for the detention center. Jailer Jason Woosley said they got one bid for the system. It's from Correctech, a company based in Paducah. $58,000 was the price, and they would do remote implementation. They would upload the software, et cetera, and they would manage it. Or for $67,000, they would come do the full implementation on site, et cetera, and they opted for the latter. They also
that was at the request of the jailer too. That he asked. He said, "Can we please do that?"
It would be easier for them
because then they can teach them how to use it instead of them learning on the job.
That's right. I think it's also important to note that even though the fiscal court has to make the decision to spend the funds because they technically belong to the county at that point, those funds are proceeds from us renting our jail. So from our program that we have to house inmates and commissary and the jail, the detention center functions as its own fiscal entity, producing a profit. And instead of the Grayson County having to take tax dollars and spend on the detention center actually returns things to the county and says, not to mention surplus equipment, free labor, et cetera, that keep our roadways clean, et cetera. So I think he's well within, and you bring up a good point, he's well within his depth to say, can we spend a few extra dollars and do this the right way? Because he's the one that produced the proceeds anyway. They have decided, they being the court, have decided to pay off the holler. They still owed some money on the park that we know where the amphitheater, the Logston Valley and all that. They've decided to pay that off. And it sounds like the Edmonson County Water District is going to lay a 8-inch water line from Bear Creek to the Meredith intersection where 259 turns there and you splits and goes two ways so that they can connect to the Grayson County water system. And when they get in a pickle like they were in recently, Grayson County can say, here's some water. Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea. Might keep the heat off some people going that way.
It definitely been on.
As Glenn Fry said, the heat is on. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has completed a traffic mobility study aimed at supporting the Blue Oval SK battery plants. 4 alternatives were analyzed, and they have put forward the one they think is the most palatable, the most feasible, and has the greatest impact with the least amount of disturbance. They are going for Concept A. So if you're familiar with the process at all, Concept A has emerged as the highest priority. It would route traffic to and from Blue Oval along 222, so headed toward Glendale. But then before it gets to downtown Glendale, it will bear off So they'll have kind of a bypass around Glendale connecting to 1136, which is New Glendale Road, which takes you back into Elizabethtown. This is important to Grayson Countyans because the consensus or some of the working theories were that they were likely to build an interchange where 222 and the Western Kentucky Parkway intersect one another. Currently, there's no access from one to the other. But the wisdom was they would build that, and that would make it easier for Eastern Grayson Countyans, Central Grayson Countyans, Western Grayson Countyans to run up to Glendale and just jut over. And now then that would require either blowing up the charm of Glendale because that traffic would be coming straight through town, or building a bypass around Glendale. And they've just decided we're going to take, it's not that much further from Glendale to Ring Road for people who are traveling east from the west, and then you'll circle back and go back down if you want to get to Blue Oval. So that's why it's significant. And GlendaleStudy.com is where you can see all four
My
options.
picture didn't transfer, so
That's okay. But
I was like, wait a second, where is it?
yeah, they're going to come straight out of Blue Oval, headed toward Glendale, but before they get to downtown Glendale, and it's charming, they're just going to bear off to the north then and head back toward E-Town. That probably, speaking of heat, that probably also takes a whole bunch of heat off of, because two of those plans they considered people were really up in arms about because it was a bunch of residential relocation. And so to take some of the heat off of that, it might be.
Sure, Chris Jesse's feeling better today.
Sure. A group of Kentucky lawmakers joined the Commonwealth Policy Center at the Capitol yesterday to address concerns surrounding the state's pro-life laws. There are plenty of stories. Kentucky Today has a story written by Tessa Redmond, which if you would like to read all the detail, you can. The reason I bring it to your attention is that our Senator Steve Meredith also spoke yesterday, and you can read about the comments. But one of the things that I found interesting, again, I doubt many minds change on the pro-life, pro-choice issue, but even me, I had never really considered. You understand the value and the sanctity of life and what pro-life is supposed to be. But Nancy Tate, who is a state representative, she's the chair of that pro-life caucus. One of the things she mentioned is that she has heard from others who were conceived in rape and incest. And she says that those people, when we talk about those people are not important, that they feel devalued. And that's something I had never really considered. When the move is, but children, lives should never be produced as a result of these things. And they're definitely attention getting. So it was interesting to hear from that group of people, which really I would have not, considered part of the equation. So anyway, if it's an issue important to you, you can read about it at KentuckyToday.com. The seasonally adjusted preliminary September 2023 unemployment rate saw a slight uptick, according to the Kentucky Center for Statistics. The jobless rate was 4.1%, which is up 0.1 from August and 0.1 higher than a year ago at this time. There's that graph again that Sam always thinks is so funny when you see that big spike. Looks like an EKG, like a heartbeat. Matter of fact, if you just copy pasted this many times, it would just look like boop.
If your heart rate looks like that, though, you
might have some arrhythmia.
You might need to go see Owensboro Health.
That's right. And this story made me laugh. A man from Spain, a 50-year-old man from Lithuania in Spain, was recently arrested after allegedly faking heart attacks at several restaurants in order to avoid paying the bill. The man, who was identified only as Adis J, has become known locally as the Gastrojeta. He has tried the scam at least 20 times over the past year at different restaurants near the Spanish town of Alicante. So he has the meal. Then when it comes time to pay the bill, he decides, Elizabeth, I'm coming to see you. It's the big one. And to get out of paying the bill. But
what about his ambulance
That's
bill,
what I wondered. Like,
right?
does he, when they load him up in the ambulance, does he say, I'm feeling better now?
Oh, I bet it's It's probably free healthcare. too.
Probably,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
Oh, my
Makes
goodness.
sense.
the European.
Talk about a trickle effect.
That's right. We got to get to a break. We'll come back. Your Cougar Sports Report coming up here on In the Know.
What do you call someone who puts your family's interests ahead of their own? Someone who takes time to listen without rushing you or passing judgment. Someone you can count on to help guide you through one of life's most difficult times. At Watkins Funeral Home, we call someone like that a friend of the family. For families making funeral arrangements in Litchfield, there's only one thing you need to know. You've got a friend at Watkins Funeral Home. For more information, visit us online at rogers-watkins.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ashley Gabbard, internal medicine physician with Owensboro Health. I'd like to talk with women 40 and over about having annual mammograms, even if there is no history of breast cancer in your family. Early detection provides women a strong advantage in fighting breast cancer. Ask your primary care provider for a referral and schedule your screening online at owensborohealth.org/mammogram.
Successful small business owners know that having an ally in decoding the data of your business performance is vital. A trusted source that can interpret financial reports, advise on tax code, and assess overall performance can be the difference between sleepless nights and peace of mind. The certified public accounting firm of Buckles, Travis & Hart is your ally in making sure your business is performing at an optimum level. Call or contact today to find out how Buckles, Travis & Hart can help fine-tune your business to create peak performance. 270-259-5604. GraysonCPAs.com.
Early voting in the November general election will be available to anyone November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th from 8 to 4 at the Center on Main in Litchfield. Then on Election Day, November 7th, you may vote at any of the following voting centers: the Center on Main on South Main Street, the Church of Joy on Schoolhouse Road, the Old Caneyville School on East Maple Street, the Falls of Rough Fire Department on Falls of Rough Road, the Rock Creek Voting House on Grayson Springs Road, the Clarkson Community Center on Millerstown Street, and the Big Clifty Community Center on Cemetery Road. No matter where you live in Grayson County, you may vote at any of these voting centers between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on November 7th. Early voting is only offered November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th from 8 to 4 at the Center on Main.
Google is cutting dozens of jobs in its news division. At least 40 employees are receiving pink slips this week. Google has been downsizing across all divisions in recent months in a company-wide adjustment to slowing growth and global economic uncertainty. Anthropic is being sued by music publishers. Universal Music, AMCO, Concord, and others claim that the San Francisco startup's AI chatbot, Claude, is posting lyrics to popular songs. The suit claims systematic and widespread infringement of their copyrighted song lyrics. SurveyMonkey is launching SurveyMonkey Forms. According to the company, best known for its surveys, the new feature enables users to create professional forms in a single, easy-to-use platform. It comes as a standalone offering and is automatically added to all SurveyMonkey paid plans at no additional charge. And Netflix is raising prices starting this week. The premium ad-free plan will jump by $3 a month to $22.99. The basic plan increases to $11.99 in the U.S., while other plans will be unchanged. Check report, Mark Mayfield.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come.
Today is International Air Traffic Controllers Day. What might have been.
I'm not scared.
It's Suspenders Day.
I make no
Some days I need some.
This is me.
Yeah, I think a lot of men. It's not that they don't have a butt; they just have a really long back.
Yeah.
And so, but I do like the older guys that buy the insurance policy. They do the belt and suspenders.
Yeah.
You're like,
Like-
oh, you're making double sure.
I feel like you could, as a young kid, you could do suspenders and pull them off, and then you get to a certain age.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what that certain age is.
I
but-
bring it back.
I think if you're older than a frat boy, you can't wear them.
oh, I'd say even once you hit like fifth grade.
I think no, but
Middle school.
I think there's a look though in the
Unless you're
Southeastern
doing a
Conference frat
tuxedo.
boy when they do the bow tie. I would think I would see this on the camp. I would see this at Ole Miss at the
Yeah.
Grove before a game. There's going to be a frat boy in a bow tie and suspenders. But then you age out of that, and you can't do it again until you're
65?
65 is where
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that's the. But now, depending upon what you do for a living.
Yeah, I mean, if you work at a tux shop, like, yeah.
But here's what I think I would do though. I think I would give a pass. I'd give a carve out to plumbers.
Yeah.
Be like, because notoriously plumbers,
You don't wanna see the crack.
Listen, when the stereotype is that your industry produces a lot of crack, you probably need suspenders and a belt. So I'm going to give plumbers a carve out for the no suspenders rule.
Not the kind of different kind of crack.
That's right, not the Bobby Brown kind. This is the kind, yeah, the kind
Not the kind that the sheriff will come see you about.
That's exactly right. It is Mammography Day. It's always the third Friday of October. It's Back to the Future Day. This is the day that they traveled to, October 20 in Back to the Future. Tomorrow is Back to the Future Day, by the way. It was October 21st, not October 20th. Tomorrow is Garbanzo Bean Day. Sunday is Caps Lock Day. Sunday is Mother-in-Law Day. Sunday is Smart is Cool Day. Sunday is Eat a Pretzel Day. I think I still have some pretzel sticks in the pantry that I can probably celebrate
I think you do.
accordingly. Just a few, not too many. So anyway, that's what we're celebrating today and throughout the weekend. Time for the Cougar Sports Report going back to last Friday night. The Cougars took care of business with a victory over Seneca. We kind of recapped it for you on Monday a bit, but the Cougars got out to an early lead, 16-0 after a 2-point conversion, 16-0 lead, and then things got a little precarious throughout.
But yet it was
throughout
never
the
in
game.
doubt.
Yeah, you're right. It was never in doubt, but the dominance that they established in the first quarter did not sustain itself. Seneca took a big punch in the beginning, but managed to get back to their feet and make it somewhat competitive. There were some Cougar miscues as well. So it's not all, Seneca doesn't get all the credit for that. But nonetheless, it was an important win.
As Al Davis said, just win, baby, win. That's all that matters.
Win, baby, win. And so now a step out of the district. District play is secure for the Cougars. And now they get to focus on a border rival that they have met. How many meetings will
This
this
will be
be?
the 37th all-time matchup between the Cougars and the, do I say Fighting Tigers or are they just Tigers?
just the Tigers.
Just Tigers?
I don't
Well, I don't
think
want
Fighting
Whitney to
Tigers.
come at me here.
Nah, she's fine.
Okay.
Fighting is more of a relative term. Their idea of fighting and my idea of fighting might be
Okay.
completely different. So I don't think they're at liberty to just throw that in there. We wouldn't say the most awesome Cougars.
I think one Mr. Spirit might.
I mean, I know that we are, but we wouldn't say it because it would just be a matter of opinion on whether we're
The King Cougars of the third region beat
Most-
the other Cougars this year in football.
exactly right. But even though it's the 37th meeting, it's not even close in a series record.
Yeah, Grayson County leads 26-10. But if you remember the last time the Cougars went to Harned, it was the Fighting Tigers that won 15-12. Grayson County handled business here in Litchfield, though, last year. So they've split the last two meetings.
But also, they've been over there in recent history, and Breckenridge County thought they were going to win and thought that something happened, and they were super mad about their loss.
Yeah,
You remember that?
2 years ago, the Cougars weren't necessarily thrilled that they didn't win that game. But you know what? That's why you play the game. It's kind of one of those things.
So Breck is 3-5. The Cougars are 7-1. What has Breck's path been to tonight's game?
So they have moved because if you remember last year they were in Grayson County's district, so they moved back down to Class 4A, and they've been in a district with like John Hardin, Bardstown, Thomas Nelson, and Nelson County, I think, as their district. They went 1-4 in those district games. They're coming off of a win last week against Thomas Nelson, and their playoff spot is pretty much solidified. Paducah Tillman is right now in first. They're playing the worst team in their district, so if somehow Paducah Tillman loses tonight, then I think you can get a little weird potentially on who Breck would play, but Paducah Tillman is a heavy favorite in their game, and if all results hold, Breck will travel to Paducah Tillman in 2 weeks.
Speaking of playoff matchups, and I do want to resume conversation about the Breck-Grayson matchup, but as of last night, the playoff game for Grayson County has been solidified.
Correct. On November the 3rd, the Cougars will host Iroquois here at Grayson County High School. Iroquois lost to Louisville Butler last night, and Grayson County was set to play the loser of that game. So that's who they will play in 2 weeks. Now, that second round matchup is things are a little hairy as Atherton and Fairdale play tonight. The loser of that game will play either Seneca or North Bullitt, and Grayson County will play the winner of that game if Grayson wins against Iroquois. I know that kind of is a little hairy, but Monday we'll have all of that solidified, and it'll make a whole lot more sense, more than likely.
I saw I think it was a question that you asked or were trying to find the numbers on. I know there were multiple people trying to track down the information. Colby Chaffins is having the type of season that those numbers haven't been put up very often. He's in the conversation with like the Hunter Garys of the world, or going back to the Marty Haycrafts of the world back in the mid '80s. He is in rare air this season.
Yeah, and Hunter Gary didn't even hit the 1,000-yard mark that we don't think that we've found. But right now, the only solidified 1,000-yard passer that we've officially been able to find out is Marty Haycraft. Luckily, he had a great wide receiver in Ted Rogers, and one that left, I know, a little bit to be desired on the other side. One Sheriff
there
Chaffins.
was the other side of the field. Yes.
Luckily, I mean, went to Ted Rogers quite often in that, which was pretty smart, and that's how he got most of his yards. So, but I mean, there's still a couple of names that we're still trying to solidify on whether they have, but regardless, it's not something that happens a lot. And Colby right now is just under 800 yards with 2 regular seasons to go. If he kind of continues on the path that he has been, he'll have a chance to hit that 1,000-yard mark. And he's also, it's been the run game that has been kind of a sneaky part of his game. 323 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. It's come on a lot. He's had some big games over these last couple of weeks.
There were some good quarterbacks in that gap that I just talked to you about. Gary Morrison was a good quarterback. Jared Embry was a good quarterback. Rodney Morris was a good quarterback. But the program was not successful, and the offenses were not potent enough during that stretch that they could accumulate any individual stats. So not only it's a combination of Colby being the right place at the right time, but it's an opportunity. He has the skill to do it, but he is really enjoying the success of the team, which is helping him with the accolades and reaching the levels that he is. He's got a great supporting cast. Caden Hanshaw is knocking on the door of 1,000.
74 yards away. He would become the 12th person to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. First freshman, though, in program history to ever do that, which would be a heck of an accomplishment for him as well, so hopefully he can do that.
The Cougar defense, no slouch. In fact, tops of the class, and got even better. Their average improved last week because of their defensive performance against Seneca.
Yeah, they're allowing 9 points a game. The defense tied a school record last week for consecutive games allowing 10 points or less. It's a school record. They can break that tonight. Those are some pretty good teams that they have a chance to break tonight against a Breckinridge County team.
I know I asked you last week, and it's been bantied about the Marshall County game, best thing or worst thing, and because you're enjoying the success that you're on, then I think most people are going to say, well, it's the best thing because it set the Cougars on a path to win the district, win the championship, control their own destiny, etc. But they win tonight, and longest win streak in how long?
It would match the longest win streak in program history, matching 1979 and 2012. And that 1979 team lost only 1 game. Sorry, Roger, I don't want to bring back memories. I know he still has bad memories. That's the 1 year he played of playing LaRue County that year in 2012. So some really good teams there that they could potentially match that longest win streak in program history.
On the Breck County offense, Wyatt Burnett is a name I'll hear you say a lot tonight.
Yeah, he's their main guy. He's a name that you would recognize. He's just one of those kids that, as I like to describe, they could probably drop him on the golf course and he'd shoot 72. He's just a great athlete. He's a great baseball player. He's passed for 1,300 yards and rushed for nearly 500. He's a weapon for Breckinridge County. There's no question about that.
Who are some of their other playmakers?
Lance Poole and Ladarian Parker. They've combined for over 700 yards receiving and nearly 200 yards rushing. They're a dynamic duo that Grayson County's going to have to slow down. And then out of the backfield, Liam Clark is their running back, 83 carries for 348 yards.
They knocked off Thomas Nelson last week, who on their own has had an interesting week there with protests and walkouts. But that guaranteed the Tigers a spot in the playoffs in 2 weeks. Probably, as you mentioned earlier, most likely headed to Paducah.
Yeah, it'd have to get a little weird for them to not.
But the one thing I think that I didn't make the notes, and it's not in the notes, but if I were adding to the notes, I would write it and I would highlight it that apparently word has gotten back to the Cougar program that Breck County thinks the Cougars are soft.
I think it's that their record doesn't show what they are.
Okay.
I guess would probably be the best way to describe it. And safe to say that the Cougars kind of like that. I mean, they like being, because, I mean, they like the rankings. I know, like, earlier on this season against Edmonson County, the Bowling Green Daily News picked Edmonson straight away to win all three. And they did the same thing when Butler County came here. And the rankings, they do the media poll that we don't vote in, but they do the media poll. And this week, Grayson County's 15th in Class 5A. One spot ahead of them is Moore, who, remind me, Grayson County beat them by 20. So there's all of those things, and I know that Coach Jones, I asked him a couple of weeks ago, is because some coaches don't really care about that stuff, but I asked him, I said, do you kind of like being disrespected? And he's kind of like Mark Stoops there. I think his exact words were, I love it.
Every coach is looking for a way to motivate their young people to do things and not become apathetic about things. When the Cougars lock up the district championship, it would be very easy mentally to take 2 weeks off and go, we just got to get ready for the playoffs. But when you go feeding my desire to play by telling me that my 7-1 record is not an indicator of my skill, then suddenly I am more re-engaged and I would attempt to run you off the field if possible.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, Breck's got some great playmakers. Defense is the question for them. They've really struggled against the run this year, so it'll be good. I mean, anytime these two teams match up in any sport, you get the rivalry. It's the different kind of rivalry, because I know we talk about, depending on where you are in the county, Edmondson's your biggest rival, Butler's your biggest rival, or there's the portions of, like Chase Blaine, who used to work on our crew. He lived in Falls of Rough. Breck, that's the one he cared the most about because he knows everyone up there.
Listen, Edmondson, Ohio, Butler, Breckenridge, Hardin, there are a whole lot of people what I call with dual citizenship. Yes, even Hart, but because the wedge where we meet Hart is less. But these areas, you got a lady sitting right over there who's got dual citizenship. But you've got so many people that are from Breckenridge County that might be living here and vice versa, that it just means, it means a lot and it gets a lot of attention. These border schools just get a lot of passion. We'll circle back to the start time in a moment, but big week for the Lady Cougar volleyball team.
And they won the 12th District Championship this week, 3-2 over Whitesville Trinity on Tuesday. From what I understand, they'll find out their draw in the next 30 minutes or so as to who they will play.
My guess is we might tweet about that.
I think you are probably correct in saying that.
Okay.
Owensboro, Breck, or then I meant to look this morning on whether it's Muhlenberg or Ohio, the chances that they will play. Those games, luckily they get to go to a gym that they're pretty familiar with, as they head to back to Whitesville Trinity, as Whitesville Trinity is the host of the tournament this year as Muhlenberg County. So they'll either play Muhlenberg, Owensboro, or Breck on either Monday or Tuesday at Whitesville Trinity, and they'll find that out at some point here this morning.
Cross-country region is tomorrow?
Yep, they race there at the park behind Warren East, is the way I describe it there in Bowling Green.
Like Ephraim White?
I'm not sure how to... Ephraim.
I've heard that. That's a southern name. Ephraim. It's pronounced other ways.
Ephraim White Park in Bowling Green.
Yeah, that's...
Girls race at 9, boys race at 9:45, so good luck to them. You never know. We could have our region championship tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Cougar Conversations tonight will be someone who was a pretty good golfer. Yeah.
And I know that my last question I had to ask a little bit, because this is probably a contentious week in her household a little bit.
Oh yeah, house divided. So the Cox family.
I pretty much asked. I said, "Is it still a house divided, or have you brought that together to where the house can no longer be divided because he's been here long enough and so on. So it'll be interesting to hear her answer to that question a little bit later on.
The payroll stubs say Grayson County Schools on them, so I'm going to presume that we're all in on Grayson County Schools. Lacey Cox will be your guest tonight.
Correct. It'll be
6:30 kickoff is the locker room show.
Locker room show at
6:30
6. Remember, we're back to 7 o'clock start time tonight
right.
for the Cougars and the Tigers.
We'll have all the coverage for you across our platforms. Go Cougars. Got to get to a break. We'll come back. Got more on the way here on In the Know.
Thinking about furthering your education? At Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, you'll get a high-quality education close to home at a cost that won't break the bank. Enjoy small class sizes with professors who take a personal interest in your success. Scholarships are still available, making our low tuition even more affordable.
ECTC's Litchfield Classes is now enrolling for classes that start October 16th.
Visit elizabethtown.kctcs.edu to get started. ECTC, College for the Real.
Cougar Sports is officially underway, and T-Shirt Express, the bright pink building on the square, has you covered. Parents, students, and fans of Cougar Sports, choir, and band will find a variety of selections to cheer the Cougars on. T-Shirt Express also offers laser engraving, embroidery, memorial items, and they welcome all design ideas. T-Shirt Express, the bright pink building on the square, for all of your Cougar and personalization needs.
On the basketball court, you have to know where the lines are. It's just as important to know where the lines are in your own yard. Kentucky law generally requires you to have underground utility lines located before most excavation work, even if it's on your own property. If you don't call 811 and you damage a natural gas line, the Kentucky Public Service Commission will investigate you and you may be fined up to $1,250. Much better to stay within the bounds of the law and call before you dig to start putting in that backboard or goalpost. For more information, visit psc.ky.gov. This message brought to you by the Kentucky Public Service Commission.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
800-659-7540. 800-659-7540. 800-659-7540. That's 800-659-7540.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
K105 Weather is brought to you by Future Designs Building Materials on Quarry Road in Litchfield.
Twin Lakes weather.
We'll dry things out for your Friday afternoon with an afternoon high of 62 degrees. It will also be breezy with wind speeds up to about 25 miles per hour. For tonight, a low of 44. For our Saturday, it will be warmer, a high of 73 degrees, but winds will be gusty with speeds up to about 20 to 30 miles per hour. From the Wavestorm Tracking Team, I'm meteorologist Jessica Dobson.
Monday warrior, mean strike. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Did you know it is possible to die laughing? And a number of people have, typically due to heart attack or suffocation.
Wow.
That's why comedians say, I killed. When I go out and do my set and they say, how'd you do? They say, oh, I bombed or I killed. That's where, because people died from laughing. They were laughing so hard, I killed them. So it technically is possible. Does that mean you can die from being tickled?
I would assume so.
Listen, probably, but I hate to be tickled.
But you better not.
Mhm.
Here is the weekend movie premieres at the box office.
We're in
Two
kind of
entries.
We're in that awful part of the before Christmas kind of brings back more.
My guess is I will end up seeing this, but it will not be at the theater. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro in a Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon. This is the famous Osage Indian tribe, Native American tribe. There was a big story of them from the 1920s, how they discovered oil. And so all of a sudden, they were getting lots of attention from people who wanted to help them part with their money and part with their oil. And the character that Robert De Niro plays married into the Osage tribe, and the story goes from it. Now, be prepared. It is long.
Well, it's Scorsese.
Yes, it's about 3:15.
Ooh.
Wow.
So just be prepared. But I do think...
I don't think I can go to a theater for
people
that.
were knocking on that, saying, why is the movie so long? And Scorsese, who basically, Martin Scorsese, you can do whatever you want. It's not like he's relying upon this movie to be financially successful or to secure his legacy, but he basically defending cinema. He said, I'm making cinema. I'm not making a movie. So, and then some musical called Dick's the Musical. Megan Mullally, Nathan Lane, Megan Thee Stallion. So, at the movie theater today. Bad Bunny, I will remind you again in a moment, Bad Bunny is the host and musical guest on SNL, but there's a story in the prep today that says the top 5 most memorable sketches recommended by fans of SNL. So I'm going to start at 5. It's interesting how many of the top 5 have Will Ferrell in them. But at 5, Celebrity Jeopardy. Celebrity Jeopardy is such a famous sketch that even now current Jeopardy contestants, when they can make something out of the clue, out of the category, and say it incorrectly, they will do it. And so that was Norm Macdonald, who played Burt Reynolds, that did such a tremendous job. Then the guy who played Connery, who's now the announcer, and then Will Ferrell playing Trebek. Those skits are classic.
Well, Norm Macdonald's birthday was just
was it earlier this week?
Tuesday. It was the day you weren't here.
Number 4, Matt Foley, motivational speaker. In a van down by the river.
I don't know that one.
It's good. It's Chris Farley would come in and basically smash the coffee table in the living room. He was just funny. He could walk into a room and just be funny.
There's one I'm really hoping's on the list, but I doubt will be there.
Chippendales. The Chippendales audition is at number 3, and it is back to back Chris Farley. Probably the 2 most famous Farley sketches are the Chippendales audition with Patrick Swayze and the Matt Foley, but he was in so many. At number 2 is the Wayne's World sketch. It had so many. Steven Tyler was on there when Aerosmith was a musical guest. They just had so many people that would visit, and it turned itself into a movie franchise, so it has to be pretty good. And then, of course, number 1 is more cowbell.
That has to be number 1, does it not?
Yeah, Christopher Walken, comes in, and he kind of having him in the sketch alone, and the way that Will Ferrell dances with he's got his sweater is too short, so it's up above his navel. He's got the beard and all that, so more cowbell.
Is it the Peyton Manning where he pelts the kids with the Nerf footballs? Isn't that an SNL skit?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's probably
that's the one
it's probably not classic, but it's good. Britney Spears will not be doing any interviews to promote her memoir. That's probably a good move. I don't think they want her out there isolated by people who are going to question.
She would have to do the right interview.
Yeah.
Right now, she can sit back and just issue statements and tweets and Instagrams and whatever. She can control the narrative, and someone can be doing it on her behalf. They sit her down in a chair across from
Almost
Good Morning
anybody.
America or Name About Anybody, and they're going to ask. She's going to all of a sudden be she's going to end up saying things that she probably will wish that she did not. She's just letting the book tell her story. And as a result, stay silent. A lot of people have to do the press junket to sell their book, not her.
Yeah, she doesn't. I mean, it has been written down over here on my friends where I keep it together over here when the release date, since I heard of it.
Where you keep it together? Like where you keep life together?
Yes, I mean, I try.
I thought that's what you were saying over here where I keep it together. Like, you mean it, like life?
Yeah, I try to, where, again, if you look at it, if you scrutinize it kind of is like life. It's all, pallywampus.
It tells your story. Mary Lou Retton has suffered a pretty scary setback, according to her doctor, or her daughter and doctors, and she remains in the ICU. So continue to, if you're a prayer, continue to pray for Mary Lou Retton. And then news out today that the NFL is going to consider letting active players participate in flag football at the 2028 Olympics. Yay or nay, Sam?
Until somebody gets hurt. I mean, here's the thing. If the NFL does that, good luck. I mean, just give them the gold medal.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of the dream team in basketball. The first time the professionals played.
But I'd just be interested, in 2028, who is it Mahomes? Is it Burrow? Is it, who's going to be the guy? And
there's probably going to be a whole nother group of superstars by 2028.
So what you said was it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt.
Until Joe Burrow gets an eye out or something like that. We got to get to a break. We'll come back, finish it up for the week here on In the Know.
Life can be beautiful, or it can be really ugly. The difference lies in your perspective. Most people consider San Francisco Bay one of the most stunning views in California. To one side is the Golden Gate Bridge. To the other side, Oakland. You can hike the mountains, ride the bike trails, or sail the sparkling bay waters. Everywhere you look, you're surrounded by the beauty of nature, unless you're a prisoner on Alcatraz Island, just a mile offshore. For 3 decades, Alcatraz was home to one of the most notorious penitentiaries in American history, housing infamous gangsters like Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly. The Rock, as inmates called it, was a prison in more ways than one. Not only were prisoners restrained by iron bars and barbed wire, but also by the view itself. From their perspective, the stunning landscape was as ugly as the prison cells that held them. Their circumstances twisted the beauty around them into yet another wall separating them from freedom. We see what we choose to see. Beautiful scenery can either take your breath away with wonder or suffocate you with its limitations. You can see opportunity in a circumstance or restriction. You can see a marriage that's worth fighting for or find a reason to throw it all away. The good life you're after may be right there in front of you. You just need the eyes to see it. For more to help you thrive, visit FocusOnTheFamily.com. I'm Jim Daly.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's Medi-Share. Maybe you've heard switching to Medi-Share to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medi-Share works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
I see you, but you're gone. Telephone a doctor, I'm not okay. I go to the bottom of the Bible.
Indies Point to ponder for today. What's the craziest conversation you've ever overheard? The craziest conversation you've ever overheard.
I don't know about overheard, but listen, I've been involved in a lot of crazy conversations.
Tell you the one I've been involved in, which is people are aware of, the one with Richard Young from the Kentucky Headhunters, about the dream he had, and Steven Tyler and 57 Chevy. And
speaking of them, I mean, they're coming here.
Yeah, they'll be here in May, won't they?
Are you two gonna get lunch beforehand?
I'm gonna wait and see if he calls. I don't want to be that person who thinks we had one conversation, now we're BFFs.
Maybe you could have him on the show.
I'm sure we could, but I mean, he knows where I live. I'm right here. 5 days a week, most weeks. So they're welcome. But
Holla.
I don't know that I want to, I don't want to be that person and be
think
like, oh, this guy.
You need to ask him about his dream.
Maybe, if he's had any more dreams. Good idea. On television tonight. Honey, sometimes you will call and tell me something like you heard in the next stall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, of conversations like people were having or carrying on that are.
See, I don't usually listen. Like sometimes my crew will be saying things like, "Do you hear me?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
The crew is like your children. See, at this point, so you've learned to tune them out.
It makes me feel old. But yeah, no,
I mean, they are. It's,
yes.
It's kind of the equivalent of,
You are the one in charge.
You are in charge.
Correct. But it's just like sometimes I'm like, I was not listening.
And I can see you like in a retail store. Like you are on a mission. You
get
what you're
100%.
going to get.
Yeah, no. I don't talk to anybody
around you. You get I can't see where you've been an opportunity to really overhear conversations.
He does, Ralphie. Don't bother me.
Don't bother me.
Don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
ABC Shark Tank tonight. The Price is Right at night on CBS tonight. Major League Baseball tomorrow, Game 5 if necessary. Phillies in Arizona. The Diamondbacks won last night, didn't they?
Yes. They won on a walk-off.
SNL, Bad Bunny hosts and performs. The Simpsons Sunday night. Sunday Night Football is the Dolphins at Eagles.
And then, just so we can put up our great graphic, and plus this is somebody that you might know, Mark. Cougars, Breckenridge County tonight. At least you might not know who this is, but you know this person's mom. I do know. This is one Braden Mudd.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there you go. I know he's kind of hiding his face a little bit, but the Cougars.
That's at 6:30 tonight.
6:30 is the locker room show. 7 o'clock will be the kickoff. Watch on K105 Digital Productions or listen on K105.
Today's highlight in history. This date in 1977, 3 members of the rock group Lynyrd Skynyrd, including lead singer Ronnie Van Zant, were killed along with 3 others in the crash of a chartered plane near Macomb, Mississippi. I have recently, for whatever reason, just really gotten back into Lynyrd Skynyrd music. I don't know why. Just something.
Freebird to you.
I guess it's just, I don't know. They did that special on the 50th anniversary or the 50 years of Lynyrd Skynyrd on PBS a few weeks ago, and I was just reminded, like, wow, those guys are good. So anyway, in 1803, the music holds up is my point. In 1803, the U.S. Senate ratified the Louisiana Purchase. Birthdays today, rockabilly singer Wanda Jackson is 86. She's the one that made Hard-Headed Woman famous before Elvis made Hard-Headed Woman famous. Keith Hernandez is 70 today. Viggo Mortensen is 65. Kamala Harris, Kamala, is 59 today.
I didn't know that I realized she was that old.
The D.O.G. is 52 today. Mr. Calvin Broadus is 5 to the 2.
So wow, Eminem and Snoop both have a birthday the same week. That's a pretty heck of a birthday week for.
Not the same year though.
I mean, Eminem was 51, so which was kind of wild to think that he's that old.
Mm-hmm.
John Krasinski is 44 today. Jim Halpert to you. Gone but not forgotten, several. Bela Lugosi in 1882, Grandpa Jones in 1913, Art Buchwald in 1925, Dr. Joyce Brothers in 27, Mickey Mantle in 31, William Christopher in 32, Jerry Orbach, who played Baby's daddy on Dirty Dancing.
Love him.
Who he tried to put Baby in the corner, and he got told the what for. And Tom Petty was born this date in 1950. Chart toppers. We're just about out of time. Wake Up Little Susie, the Everly Brothers, number 157. We both been sad. What else? See if I can squeeze something short of a couple.
Trying to look over and see if I see one that would be good.
All right, I'm just wasting time now. Reach Out, I'll Be There, 4 Tops in 66. Bad Blood, Neil Sedaka in 75. Hard Habit to Break, Chicago in 84. The River of Dreams, Billy Joel in 93. Underneath It All, No Doubt in 2002. Adele, Someone Like You in 11. And Dynamite, BTS, number 1 3 years ago today. MB's Pearl of Wisdom for today says, you'll instantly discover true happiness when you stop looking for reasons to be unhappy. You'll instantly discover true happiness when you stop looking for reasons to be unhappy. MB's Pearl of Wisdom for today. Remember, God loves you, and I do too. If you don't know Jesus, let me know, and I'll introduce you. Look forward to seeing you back here on Monday for another edition of our show. For Sam Gormley, for Beej, I'm MB, and now you're in the know.
Powering through the Twin Lakes with the best mix of music, news, weather, and fun. If it's in the Twin Lakes,